Welcome. Welcome to the last live session of the SFG20 Summit. I hope you all are having a great time in learning and planning to apply all these learnings to it. Today, me and my panelists are going to talk about AI, which I know is a topic that's been boiling for the past year or two, and it's really kind of a thing that we can't get away from that, right? So in this session, we just want to share, just to distill some of the hype and come up with some practical applications and with some takeaways that you can go back and apply within your organization. So I just want to start with a poll. Please do keep the online access pretty interactive. So I just want you to ask questions so which we could pick up and answer. Secondly, I'll be also organizing some polls. Please ensure that you also do the polls as well. So in that way, we are not just talking and you're not listening, so let's make it a lot more interactive. So with that note, I would like to introduce my panel. Here we have Prady from COO from Thermatic. Then we have Neil Anderson from IME. And then we also have Mike Talbot from SFG20 as the CTO. And I am Baskar Sundaram, founding director of Baachu. So we have Ahmed, Malik, and Vanessa Godin, who won't be able to join us today thanks to the weather. I hope you are somewhere safe. So let's begin the conversation. But before I do that, I just want to ask you this. In a scale of 1, which is AI is all hype, at a scale of 10, this is definitely going to be a disruptor. What do you think? Keep the polls running. AI is a hype, which is 1. AI is going to be a disruptor. We cannot just leave that as it is. So keep it going, and any number in between. What you know. This is based on what you know, what you see, what you have learned as of today. Right. Let's just begin the conversation with you, Mike. So let's start. So I know I did hear the asset mapping session. So the SFG20 is experimenting generative AI within your organization. So how are you using Gen AI within SFG20?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, I think that AI has existed for a long time, hasn't it? But generative AI, this new AI that we've started hearing about with Chat GPT, that's quite new. Yeah. And the thing it seems to be very good at is doing natural language processing in a way that a human would. So one of the biggest challenges we have at SFG20 is taking the maintenance schedules our tech authors write and applying those to real world assets. So we've got a schedule that says it's for a lift, and then you've got an asset which says it's an elevator. You've got to map these things together. At the moment, what normally happens is you actually send out a surveyor and do a lot of work. It takes weeks and weeks of effort to be able to say, which SFG20 schedule would I apply to this particular asset? So we looked at that and we asked ourselves, how can we use this Gen AI to do that? Because it's a very, you can't just make a predictive model for that. You've got to do something slightly cleverer. So what we've done is this. We've made a database out of all of our schedules, 1,500 plus schedules, where we've tracked those using what's called an embedding, a way of finding things using what it means rather than just the words in it. And then what we do is we take in an asset register, we map that asset register to find which of the schedules that seem most likely that they're going to fit. Step 1. Step 2 is we then ask the AI to take the schedules it's found, the top ranked ones it found by the search, and we say, using your knowledge of the world, because it's got knowledge of the world, it understands synonyms, it understands acronyms, so it expands all of those things, and it uses that to say then, put in order what are the most likely. And then we run it through another pass of the AI. This is the amazing thing about it, like asking a person to do this. Yes. You say to the next level of AI, you say, okay, given this list given to you by an expert, please find me the 6 or 7 top questions that would differentiate the potential top ranking schedules out of this. And then we finally ask it one more time, please try and answer those questions given all the context you've got here. And that enables us to produce this really interesting output. The output is frequently just accurately mapped from the asset, even though it had a strange description with acronyms and a manufacturer. It's mapped that into which schedule you should use. And that's really important because those schedules tell you what you legally have to do to this equipment, what is the best practice to do to that equipment. And then if it isn't capable of finally choosing one for you, you've still got a set of questions that you can now answer to improve its matching, or you can just choose from the list. But that's massive. You can imagine 1,500 schedules is a huge number to go through and to understand. A human would, even our tech authors would only know their own little zones of our content.
Correct.
The AI can understand it much more quickly and provide this thing that a human can then work on. We're talking about taking months of work down to days, potentially hours.
Thank you, Mike. That was very, very useful. So, audience, what Mike said, you can actually try it now. And if you have access to Chat GPT, Bing, Gemini, Claude, whatever the what we call Gen AI scripts tools, I just want you to go back and search SFG20. Because what Mike said was super important, because first to understand what it already knows. It has learned a lot of stuff. I just want you to go back and study SFG20. Search, understand what it already knows about SFG20. Check any of the assets that you have. What could be the relevant code for that? And then look into, okay, this is a boiler that I'm trying to manage. What should be the red, amber, green classification? So I would like you to keep this as an interactive live session and ask questions, because what you're going to find in SFG20 as we progress further is there'll be a lot more user-friendly. It's not just like, here's the standard, you just go. They're going to come out with a lot of tools, and that's going to enable you to do that. So here is an action for you. Go to one of the Gen AI tools, ask questions about SFG20, ask questions about your company, your supplier, your competitor, your asset, and see what it tells you. Curiosity is key. So we label load nearly 4.5 million assets a year. We used to do 10,000 assets a week. Today we do 10,000 assets a day. That's the power of Gen AI. So I'll leave you with that thought. Mike, obviously this is very powerful. It's going to save time, costs, and asset register maintenance schedule is a headache in reality for a lot of people, because there is no consistency. Even though the code kind of tells us what to do, the way the inputs are collected, as we spoke, is always a bit of a challenge. So, and we have got this, we can use Gen AI, but how are you then ensuring that the schedules that's coming out of it, or the answers that's coming out of it, is compliant, the data protection and little bits, Mike? Just talk it through.
Sure. I mean, it's really important, isn't it, that you can't just ask an AI to tell you how to maintain an asset. You can't, because what happens if it makes a mistake? You're going to jail if it hurts somebody. That's the truth of it. That's why SFG20 is there, is to have our experts understand the law, apply that law to create these schedules. So the way that we work on this mapping is we've basically got a repository of lots of assets we've seen before, lots of other assets we pull through, and we push that through the system, and we use that to identify whether we're making the correct predictions. But this is also a professional service we can offer alongside it, and we can train other people to do this, to actually make sure that you're getting that mapping. But right now, it's an incredibly subjective job. And a surveyor goes out, they look at this thing, they know some SFG20 codes, they say it's one of those. Well, you get really difficult things like air handling units. An air handling unit has got multiple different things inside that giant box or small box, and you're going to have to work out which of the schedules it is. So, it's using this tool, you're more likely to get a more accurate set of questions to answer that will help you really identify it, because that might make a real difference. It might make a big difference to you maintaining it properly. It might make a big difference to it causing an injury or causing some kind of fire or something like that you need to then deal with.
Brilliant. Thank you, Mike. I think using SFG20 itself gives you, whether you're compliant, this is mandatory, this is regulatory, and other stuff. But now this takes it to the next level. So can you relate to this challenge that you're facing? If so, keep the chat active. And any questions, put that in the chat box so that I could start to ask some questions as we go. Mike, obviously, this is coming soon, and more versions are going to come out of it. While doing this, what surprised you? I mean, like, with AI, you think this is what you could achieve, but then you got really gobsmacked by, man, this is something else.
So look, I started my career as a games programmer. I can tell you, I built AI for games. What I meant by AI for games was that enemy ran straight at my character and tried to kill them. That was AI in games. I built a data analytics company, spent many years in data analytics, which is why I love this space. The data that can come out of all of this stuff is so fascinating. I built a data analytics company, and we used AI to predict things, what credit card limits we should set, whether you were likely to buy product A or product B. So I thought I knew AI. And when Generative AI came out, I started thinking, okay, well, it's another tool. It seems like a bit of a gimmick. It writes stuff, does it? It's going to answer my kids' homework, and they're going to suddenly not really be very good in their exams because suddenly they used a machine to answer those questions. But I was truly shocked when I actually started to use it. And I started to realize that the method of programming it is like having a conversation with someone. No, let me just explain it again. And I built this technique this really strange technique of where I'll ask it to do something, and then I'll ask it what I asked it. If I give you this, what do you think I'm asking you to do? And you'd learn from that. And it would have these amazing bits of insight. And then suddenly I realized I had this tool, a tool I'd never had before, where I could do work that would have taken thousands of hours for our tech authors. They wouldn't have been checking that legislation. They'd have been writing, for instance, a summary of every one of those 1,500 schedules. We didn't have a summary of every one. Now we do. It took 8 minutes. And to write the entire thing, to build that summary, to build the software to build that summary, took me less than a day. That's quite incredible. That's quite an incredible increase in productivity.
Correct.
So you need humans in this, right? You really need humans, because someone's got to judge this. Someone's got to make sure it fits the law. It's very easy. I've heard lots of these things where someone I spoke to recently had built a training course using generative AI. They said it was 90% right, but the 10% was wrong was awful. That's it. That is really true. That is what's happening today. Maybe not in the future, but today, that's what's happening. But I think that the fact that it can make 90% of it right, that's an amazing tool.
Correct.
So I think now, when I reach in my tool bag to solve a problem that one of my colleagues or one of my clients has, I'm reaching increasingly frequently for this tool that solves a class of problem I wouldn't even have tried to solve without a very, very large budget previously.
Nice. So that's a very, very important point. So today, with Gen AI, you have a trusted friend. There is no stupid questions anymore. I mean, you can ask any questions, and it's there for you to answer, provided you ask it in the right format and in the right way, and tell us, hey, I am a facilities manager for a local authority. I have this challenge. If you were me, how would you approach this problem? It becomes a coaching tool, and you have a mentor. Because it has technical stuff, it also has a lot of personal development. You'll be surprised what you can do with it. How have you used Chat GPT or Claude or any Gen AI tool for your own personal work? Let me know. And before I get into Neil and Jack, I just ask you, because this happened just 2 years ago, Neil, and also Jack, when Chat GPT came, it's just like October 2022. Today, it's there. We don't use Google search as much as we do. So how, leave the work aside. How are you? We talked about how it surprised Mike. In your own thing, beyond maintenance and other stuff, what surprised you, Niels? Let's start with you on this.
I think it's discussed really the speed of AI and the speed of the clarity of the answers. It's just mind. I remember when Chat GPT came out, and we all rushed to get a user license to log on. There was always downtime. You were put into a queue to use it. And when you used it, what it could do within seconds was just, it was beyond comprehension.
Correct.
And then I think, as you said, the more you understand that you can make it a persona, and you can say, today I want you to be a maths school teacher for year 9 students, and the questions I'm going to ask you are from a year 9 perception or person, and answer it as a teacher for year 9. And that, the way you can create the persona to it and make it work for you is just, again, to me, just incredible. And it's still, every day is just, I can't believe that what it's doing is true, and the acceleration of it as well, the rollout it does, and even like Gemini now is within Google search, but just incredible how it's integrating. And there is a race going on at the moment, isn't there, to succeed.
Yes.
And whether Chat GPT will search, which it's got now, will overtake Google, we'll see, but
correct.
Just fascinating.
Yes.
Yeah, likewise, and just to support the pace, I think it's certainly over the last 6 months or so, certainly from my own knowledge, it seems to be more relevant within the FM construction market.
Yeah.
So I think, from my own perspective, then you can sort of cross-reference that in terms of what the value is of AI outside of a traditional, Chat GPT function. So,
correct.
Looking at visuals and condition surveys and the use of HoloLens technology, what that can do in terms of mapping out an easier life for the traditional FM, it seems to really come to life across these last 6 months.
As Jack and Neil pointed, because there is no limit for what you can do with it. You could take a list of assets, put it in, and then you can ask it, hey, how do you plan the maintenance? Or you could ask anything, email to do it. So again, I know you're doing a lot more. So with that point, I would just like us to run a poll. Where are you in this journey at the moment? But because the way I see that is, first you need to be curious. You just try it out yourself. Then you just let your team know, hey, I've tried this way. Do you try? ask them to try. Maybe they tried something. Collectively as a team, you learn something. Then you just create a process around it. Hey, you know what? You don't need to pump any of your confidential data within it. With the team, with the existing data, it's already there. What can you do with it? As a team, come out with some process framework and do it. Then speak to IT, speak to your compliance, anybody. Hey, we want to use this to pump some of our data. How can you create a data governance framework? Then you just move on. You don't need to think, oh my God, this is big work. How am I going to do implementation there? And just start with you, your team, create a data governance framework. Then you see what results it's come to. So I just want to ask you this question. What stage are you in your AI adoption journey? We are just 2 years, and I think everybody is talking about it. Some say that they have done it, but in reality, nobody has actually cracked it fully yet. But we are going to see a lot more happening in 2025 and beyond. I think some of the trials are happening, but not necessarily in the way that they are talking about, but it's going to come. So in your case, where are you in this journey? As an individual, as a company, as a team, your point number one, or option one, not started, or you have no plans yet. I'm not going to even try. I'm just going to do it. Second, I'm curious. I'm learning and exploring myself. Number three, we are in early stages. You know what? I think I've been trying for some time, and I've already put a business case forward. We are going to do it. Number four, we are actually testing it out. There are some trials coming. So option one, not started. Option two, learn and explore. Option three, early stages. Option four, actively looking into that. Go on the poll. If there is any questions, keep it coming. So I'll be moving on to Jack now. Jack, as an operational leader, come CEO, or you have an operating model, and suddenly there is this disruptor that comes and tells you, hey, you know what? Everybody seems to talk about there is a cool kid out there. It's something that you need to plan. How are you as a team, as an operator, preparing for this, within your team? Just talk us through.
Yeah, good question. And obviously a lot of spinning plates within an SME sort of mobile engineering business. But I think where we started was, certainly we are in the early stages still, but we sort of started probably 3 or 4 stages if I can simplify it. But I think from an executive team, it was all about establishing an open mindset.
Yes.
Almost just going in there as an exec team and just saying, do you know what, let sort of AI take us on this journey rather than the other way around. And I think that sort of was the sort of starting point and started to kind of mothball its way down the hill. So, I think the next stage is then about discovery. So we knew there was partners and experts and developers out there that have been on the journey a little bit longer than us. Yes. So how can we learn from that? And typically as part of that learning was not just with the industry experts, but the network, the power of LinkedIn, and asking questions. Yes. And what was really encouraging for me was people were willing to speak out about their own experiences. And you actually find out, a lot of people are still in the early infancies. So that discovery phase is really important. I think as well, trying to bring people on a journey, it's got to be human-led. So bringing people on a journey and the selection process, and again, we're probably at that stage now where we're looking sort of at AI ambassadors within the organisation. Nice. People who've got a passion for the tech, or people who've actually been exposed to maybe Power BI digital reporting or CAFM integration, APIs. They've got a real sense of what that workflow looks like. So they've got an element of capability and obviously take that on, take us on a journey as opposed to the other way around, and then just educate ourselves as part of discovery. So stage 1, open mindset. 2, discovery. I think stage 3 then is and we're not quite there yet, but the brainstorming.
Yes.
So how do we enable the action? We talked a little bit about the pace of the technology. Yep. But we're seeing now, brainstorming ideas are asset verification, condition reporting. We believe there's technology out there now that through a basic smartphone, it's capturing assets, it's capturing serial numbers. At the same time, you're walking around sites and facilities, it's building that template behind the scenes. So again, just making us more effective. So how do we get that? And that is the brainstorming phase, about plotting that. We obviously operate a mobile engineering business, engineers up and down the country. Customer service levels and travel is obviously a big challenge, and therefore scheduling and planning. How can we sort of look at different ways of route optimization and reducing that travel, engineer productivity go a little bit higher. Lots of different things. Energy management as well is part of the brainstorming. Taking that complex data set of half-hourly meter readings and bringing it together and hopefully help optimize them strategies a little bit more quicker than the sort of traditional automation tools. So, yeah, brainstorming stage 3, and then obviously 4. Hopefully, we can get into some sort of roadmap. So, prioritize what is important. We're still a privately owned sort of small SME business. Therefore, there's only certain things that we can sort of take forward to the next phases. So,
I think the thing is, you can consider it though, can't you? I mean, 10 years ago, a small business wouldn't have been considering using AI for the huge catalogue of things you just said. When I was building AI for data analytics, we'd spend 6 months building a model to predict whether you were likely to take a credit card or not. It would cost a fortune, and it was worth it to a bank for a credit card. Wasn't really worth it for you. I mean, you'd have been going, what was the one thing I could do? Gen AI gives us the ability, this new wave of AI gives us the ability to like you say, there's a huge catalogue of things you could do. And there's probably more that you'll think of as you experience it. And that is the incredibly exciting thing. I've been in technology since I was 15 years old, which was a very long time ago now. And in that time, I don't think I've ever seen a technological revolution that can quite so change how many people can suddenly benefit from technology so quickly.
yeah.
Well said, Mike. Well said, Jack. I think, what you hear from here is something that I want you to, if you don't have a framework, create a framework, as Jack predicted. I mean, like, as a board, educate yourself, because there will be somebody within your team who's a lot more knowledgeable than you, which is fair because you are running your business, you have enough challenges. And as Jack predicted, can you create an AI ambassadors, AI team, so this is like your little startup, little ideation kind of a thing. Then create some frameworks. Okay, these are some of the basic criteria that you're going to set up to understand it moves from one stage to the other. And now it's been done one stage to the other. As Mike pointed, the cost of implementing is in thousands now, not like 100,000 or 300, 500,000 that you're talking about. Have that quick wins, and then you can go back and see whether you can scale that up or you can go back and try something else, because the use case is endless. As I mentioned, if this is the problem that you're facing, you can go with your needs, your problems, or you could simply ask AI, hey, we are an SME, we are a mobile engineering business, we operate in this region, we want to move there. What are the challenges do you think we'll face? Ask it, it will tell you a lot more than what you know. So it's move on. That is a good framework that Jack predicted, and I just want you to go and experiment even more. So, Jack, let's continue. So obviously you talked about skills as well within board and also within the team. So at the same time, this moves at a faster pace that we know. I think every day there are new plugins or skins coming out of for every single use case. So you already mentioned about it. I mean, like, one of the things is, yes, how much it already knows about you. Second thing is, important thing you talked about is the data readiness, right? So it knows all these things, but then these are some of the data that you have. How has generative AI, or this flux that's happened in this 2 years, has accelerated the adoption of data readiness within your company? Talk me through.
Yeah, I think when we look at FM, and certainly we operate on a CAFM system, and we've got lots of different data sources and things like that. And I think AI, the generative AI, is probably looking at FM as a bit of a gold mine in terms of the amount of data sets it's got available.
Yep.
When you think about travel patterns, schedule and planning, energy consumption we spoke about, service level KPI data, how quick are we responding to things. There's lots and lots of different data sets. I think what we're experiencing now, and this is certainly, this is partners, not necessarily me creating them our days, is the Gen AI likes standardized data sets.
Correct.
So I think that's what we're sort of working towards now, is just making sure that our data sets are in order. But ultimately, what we found with sort of exploring different platforms and different systems is it's almost, there's a different formula for each system, and therefore, it's I guess we don't want to overcomplicate that, because ultimately I think we want the AI technology to kind of lead us towards what sort of data sets we want, if that answers the kind of question.
Yes, totally, brilliant. I think this is where it comes with an open-mindedness, which is like, hey, I know the data is not fully prepared because we have been collecting data in any forms. It could be from CAFM, it could be from spreadsheet, it could be from your sensors, it could be from your schedules, whatever you have it. But then how can you standardize it? So what that's happening here is, because of Gen AI, the adoption of data or the interest in data is actually accelerated. So you might not be using Gen AI, but we'll come back to it, but you might be actually collecting the data, processing it, and visualizing data in a more structured way. Not using Gen AI, but in a structured way with dashboards, Power BI, whatever is it. We'll come to that, which is like, yes, it's not Gen AI, but there is automation that's happening. We'll come to that at the very end. So, thanks, Jack. There are a few questions that's popping up. I'll come to you. It's related to operations. Neil, obviously, there is Gen AI and there is a human, right? And whatever we say, that is this challenge is Gen AI going to take my job away? While you can sit and explain to them, hey, it's going to make your job more, you'll be more empowered, as I mentioned, as a trusted friend. It's going to help you to do your job better. Your company will be more successful, X, Y, Z. But we are seeing more and more like developers being let go of the companies because Gen AI can actually write codes better than humans, etc. So you might have find some resistant points because I know you work various type of clients and you have both buyers, both property owners, what do you see? How do you see that? Because you are in a neutral state now, both buyers or it could be one person within a team trying to. How do you think is the general perception? And what do you think are the general resistant points from facilities managers or engineers in adopting tech and Gen AI?
I think a lot of engineers actually really adopt it. My personal view is, and I've seen, I think the last 3 to 4 months, acceleration of startup companies taking pictures and doing triage on equipment,
yes,
on flats, on rent, on lots of startup businesses who are using the picture technology to triage and therefore not send out an engineer. However, for engineers, it's incredible the data you can get from AI. The fact it can take a picture, research it, and help you with it. So it's a tool to support and assist. But I think the challenge with some of the teams is just I've personally found you have to unlearn what you've learnt. And if there's anything to do, which is the questions that we're asking now are the wrong questions often. We're asking the questions based on automation, not on the art of the possible.
Correct.
We've a guy that's joined us. We've taken a student on who's done a master's degree in AI locally, and he's joined us. And every day is like a new school day where we ask a question, and he said, "But that's the wrong question. What's the output you want?
Yes.
And let me go away and work out the output." And we had one where we had 20,000 certificates we needed to transfer onto an Excel spreadsheet to upload to a new data set. And he went in and wrote a program with AI, took all the data off, uploaded to an Excel spreadsheet, 20,000 documents. That would have taken us weeks and months. That's taken, he wrote it overnight. Then that to me, and the other one is sentiment, which is CAFM systems. You sometimes have star systems in different ways. He's going in and working with some businesses that are going looking at sentiment words, they're going into every conversational thread and taking the sentiment out of it and then coming to us and the client. I think with AI, that's about how you bring. I found we're far more consultative now with AI. So in the old days, I say at FM, you'd compete against each other.
Yes.
And I've never spoken to so many companies over the last 2 to 3 months that says, right, what are you doing? How are you doing this? Because we're not competing. We're just trying to work out. We're on this journey together, and we're trying to work out how to get there. And I find it's a win-win mentality. It's far more fascinating that we're on the journey together, and there's enough business in the UK comfortably for everyone, but just share best practice and share with the client who wants to. Yes. They want to understand what's going on. AI can give insight, can give sentiment, can give first-time fix. It can do lots. But the question I've struggled with, probably in the early days, was I was asking Chat GPT the question I was asking Google. And it's a different question you need to ask. And once you understand that, but sometimes you need, I found personally, some fresh ideas. Students that have come in, there's loads out there, just get them to come and look at your business, say, because they look through a different lens, different optics. Otherwise, we're looking through, how do I get that engineer there faster to do the first time fix? They'll have a different view. And sometimes members of the team that you thought were not interested in AI are passionate about it, and just bring them in with an unfiltered view and get them stuck in. But it's one of those ones where it can be fearful, and there will be roles that will probably erode through automation, as it has been over the time. But it's an exciting time. But I think the thing I've learned is the encouragement of working with other businesses, collaborating. But there's so much opportunity to learn.
Brilliant. I think there's a very, very powerful point. So number one is you just need to unlearn to relearn, because whatever you learned might not be fit for purpose for future. But at the same time, it's not something you can write off. It's like, as Neil pointed, as engineers, you're on the front line. You're going there fixing something, but now you can learn a lot more on how to fix. Like, it's like tap on the shoulder. You just go and do. Okay, I'm coming to fix this asset, but I can also do these 2 or 3 things when I'm going there. So that's first time fix that we're talking about, and then the collaboration is happening because without you knowing, you have a trusted friend, and with that trusted friend, sky is your limit. So let's continue on that same journey. So obviously you talked about, how your graduate or a friend that came in and he can take what's been doing for 2-3 months, doing it in a day kind of thing. How do you, is there any successful tactics that you found out within building trust within AI,
within the team?
Yeah.
I think they've been very open. I think Prady user Jack is being really open, this is a roadmap. It's like a flowing river. We know it's going to get to the sea somewhere, but we don't quite know where it's going to get to.
Yeah.
And it's okay to be not scared of it, but it's not a clearly defined route because as technology, we're using definitely SFG within our new Facilio system, but that's an evolution that we're going through a journey. We know the app we want to get to, but how we get there will be a number of steps that we'll learn on the way, and it's okay to learn on the way. And it's not to be fearful, and if you sit there thinking, I have no idea what people are talking about, it's just that encouraging people to say, I don't understand, can you explain it in a way that I can understand? I think with engineers and some of our partners, supply chain partners, sometimes it's helping them because sometimes our delivery is slowed up due to our partners' delivery being slow.
Yep.
So we're very much about working with our partners to consult with them, say, right, how can we help your business to be more efficient and be better?
Yep.
Because if you're better, we deliver better to our customers. So I think it's a whole way along the supply chain from start to end. But bringing people on the journey, whether it's our own teams, whether it's our partners, whether it's engineers, it's just bringing people together on the journey. And it's okay not to know, because that's the place we're in. But the more you open up to sharing with people about it, I think the more comfortable people are and helping them with their jobs.
Yeah, and I agree. I think as well at some point, certainly on the roadmap stages, you've got to kind of define what's the problem you want to solve, isn't it?
Yes.
Whether it's a small win, because like you say, you can I think you could brainstorm for the next 3 years, couldn't you really? But so trying to identify that small win, that probably gives the team confidence as well as you as a business. But it certainly help as well the measurements, isn't it? Because Mike, you were saying about so many different benefits to it. Whether it's reducing your carbon footprint or making things a little bit quicker. How would you define the benefits when there's so many?
Yeah, exactly. How do you choose what the benefit you want to go for first? And again, that's about asking yourself structured questions around it. And if you don't know what those questions are, you could go ask the AI to ask you those questions. I just wanted to go back to trust a second, though. So there is this thing, right? So we've avoided talking about things like, I don't know, people call it hallucinations. AI is coming up with stuff. And I read there's a really interesting paper that's called Chat GPT is bullshit, written in America. And it's really, really useful way of thinking about it. And it really helps you understand how you should ask questions.
Yes.
Because Chat GPT is like that person who knows loads of things, and they're really confident, but they become so confident, they will answer you confidently and make up the answer if it wasn't one they knew.
Correct.
So it's that thing, being able to do that, understanding that you're talking to someone who is very knowledgeable and very confident, but they're just way overconfident, and they're going to tell you it's like this no matter what. If you know that, you can get around that. It's really easy. If you stop thinking, oh, it imagined it, you just go, it was just trying to sound really confident answering that, just like my mate who always does that. You can find the way of asking the questions that get you to the real answer you're looking for. Yeah. And that, for me, has what's built my trust in it. Understanding that limitation.
Yes.
And then applying your thoughts to how you deal with that person. And that's a really interesting way. And just one of those other strange things about it as well. I never thought I'd write a computer program where I said to the computer, you would be embarrassed if you invented an answer to this question. It would damage your reputation. But that's what my prompt says on the one that maps SFG20 to assets. And it helped. Telling it would be embarrassed if it lied helped, because it sort of learnt that weirdness that humans who are told they should be embarrassed shouldn't do things which are out of line. Isn't that strange? But amazing,
yes,
but strange. So that's probably where, for me, that's the trust we've got to do. 90% right, 10% awful. That's, if you rely on the whole thing, that's a pretty awful outcome.
Correct.
But 90% right is fantastic, isn't it?
Mike has a valid point. No human is 100% perfect. And Chat GPT is like any other friend, has its own communication style. You call somebody who doesn't like texting, and you text somebody who doesn't like calling. Some people prefer emails, so they all have their own preferred communication style. So learning what Chat GPT's communication style helps you to get more out of it. I just want you to know that it's not perfect, but that doesn't mean it's perfect. You can't write it off because nobody is perfect. You can't just go with it. So we have last 10 minutes, but I just want to see, Vanessa, I know you are online. Apologies, you you're not here. I know you had issues traveling. So I asked, Vanessa comes from different angle because she's part of soft FM. So primarily, I asked Vanessa, okay, in practical terms, because in cleaning, they use robots, right? Assume Chat GPT is a kind of a chatbot or kind of a robot in. So how did the cleaning industry kind of adopted robots and cleaners working together? So I asked a few questions, and I'm going to be Baskar asking questions, and I'm going to be Vanessa answering questions as well. It's going to be weird, but I'm not going to do mimicry to change my voice. It's going to be the same flat voice. So I asked her, okay, Vanessa, let me find, where is Vanessa? So, very first question I asked Vanessa was, you know what, robots or humans, how do you decide? You know, the principles here are applicable to building maintenance as well, and I just want you to carefully consider this. So number one, you use robots when there is a repetitive task and there is something that's predictable. Say in building maintenance terms, it's planned maintenance. You know that asset needs to be managed every 2 months, 3 months, etc. That's where you could use Gen AI to just see what happens. You could put sensors to just see whether that maintenance is required. So in robots stage, robots is used for repetitive, predictable tasks within cleaning, and humans comes in unpredictable and where they need specialist thing, where robots can't clean, you know, that comes in. So keep the principle, how can you apply that within building maintenance? Secondly, robots has enabled humans not to stay away from health and safety issues like hazardous chemicals and other things. So what that meant is it also helps us to be safe. It just reminds me, like if Gen AI came in pre-COVID, how many FM lives? We lost nearly 1,300 lives during COVID, FM frontline people. These are your engineers, your cleaners, your porters, etc., who lost their life. If Gen AI was there in that highly sensitive environment, do you think we could have saved lives? I mean, like, I'm just leaving it open. So the next question I asked Vanessa was, how do you manage staff morale? You have a robot cleaning it, and you are here, obviously. You know, how do you manage that to this? Primarily, gradually, what has happened is the cleaners were able to do a lot more because now they know if the repetitive task is being taken by the robot, it actually empowered them to do the task that they weren't able to do before. You know, so it enabled them. It also helped them to upskill themselves to do things that they're doing. Most importantly, the workload got balanced, and it just became the trusted friend. They come in, now a bot is going to do the last late night cleaning, and they're going to do it. So again, there is a space for Chat GPT, Gen AI in your life, and it's up to you to decide how much space you are going to give it. So the last one, how do you compare the metrics? As he talked about, like we label load 4.5 million assets a year, and we know from 10,000 assets a week, we move to 10,000 assets a day. Same principle in robots. Supposedly, robots, there's 5,000 square meter per hour, whereas humans do 1,000 to 2,000 square meter per hour. But the question comes with the quality, right? Humans do, I assume, better job compared to robots. So there's a question mark. But that is that thing, you know, what we can do. And then comes with the leverage of, okay, you know, what's the cost of it? We talked about the cost of it, which is like robots has, you know, in Chat GPT thing, you need to have a license, and then you have to then have, if you're connecting data points, language models, you need to have hosting and XYZ costs, which not necessarily you give it to a human. Human has, you know, payroll cost plus benefits XYZ. So if we look the same principle in robots, we have it's a machine. So you need to charge the machine, and you know there is a one-off implementation cost and it's a software and update. So it's not like a straightforward lift and drop. You replace a human with a robot, or you replace an engineer task with this. There is also a cost that you need to collectively come out with. But either way, if it's a repetitive, predictable thing, it can help you to do it. One of the interesting questions that Vanessa posted was, as the technology gets adopted, there are more and more assets that are coming into the picture, which was not the assets that we were maintaining in SFG20, which meant the robot cleaning, for example, or the new ages of sensors, new ages of lighting, etc. And it will be interesting to see how SFG20 adopts itself to include all these specialist assets, because the assets are going to be clever and clever and clever, which means the assets are going to be clever for us to enable the data, but then somebody needs to manage that clever assets, which we haven't worked out what's the code and what's the green and stuff. So it's a very interesting dynamics that's going to come out with it. So primarily, the point that Vanessa pointed is there is a space for machine, and then you have the technical experts, and finally the cleaners. And it's not a full and love story, but there is a space for that. So I quickly did it, Vanessa. I know you are there. I hope it's justified. And applying that, it's not just building maintenance, it's also related to cleaning industry and stuff. Before I get into the audience question, I just want to go to the panel and ask them. It's a quick fire round. So, quick fire. Yeah, 30 seconds. So,
That's a hint.
so I think I have 5 minutes, and let me do my best to get the most of this so that we could pick up some of the questions that come out. Number one, with Mike, Neil, and Jack in the order. So one thing you wish you had known earlier about Gen AI?
I think I wish I'd known a year earlier that Chat GPT 3 was there because I didn't pick it up until 3.5.
Well done. Good one. Neil?
That Chat GPT is just the tip of the iceberg.
Nice. Jack?
Yeah, I played about with different platforms. I wish I'd done that a little bit earlier to see the power.
Exactly. I think initially it was just like another hype that comes in, like how we talk about it, but then nobody realized it's there for us to. So that's good learning. So again, we already talked about the most surprising learning. What's the one advice you want to give to someone who's starting out? And I know majority of you might be frustrated. Hey, I still don't have the space to do it. But you haven't got it because the industry is still exploring, trials are coming, and McKinsey survey says maybe 1% to 2% globally have actually done something useful with AI, which means we are among the 99% who are still working with it. So, advice for those starting out, Mike?
I think it's really think about what your problem is. This point's already been made, but that is it. Think about your problem. As a programmer, that's what we do all the time. We hear from clients, I want a red button. And I don't hear I want a red button. I hear I've got a problem that I'm trying to solve. So I'm trained to do that. Everyone else needs to get trained to do that because you need to be talking to AI that way.
Correct. Good one.
Don't be afraid to reach out to other people who are doing it and ask for help.
Exactly.
Colleagues, peers, other people you've never met before. Don't be afraid to reach out.
That's it.
1 in 10 will come back to you, and that one person will make the difference.
That's brilliant advice, because what Gen AI has done is it's pretty much democratized the landscape. So what that meant is that there could be this one person who has done a tool that a big business does not got it. And it's important to be open, collaborative, to learn. That is a beautiful point. Thank you. Jack?
Yeah, I'd just add to that as well, but I think AI sort of ambassadors, which I referenced before, assemble that team, more hands, more eyes, should in theory accelerate.
Got it. So I'll just give my thoughts, and then we will go then for some questions. I think we still have 3 minutes, and I'm sure we could get something. So my final thoughts. I mean, it's here for stay. Whether you like it or not, it's going to be there. And 10 years from now, you'll be thinking, what AI? It's becoming part and parcel of your. It could be maintenance, it could be your life, it could be in your phone. As you know, it's coming in with all the phones that comes up, Samsung, Apple, you name it, it's all there. So be curious. So it starts with you, your team, and as Jack pointed, create a framework, and as Neil pointed, unlearn. Mike pointed, go experiment, test it out. Use cases are out there. So there are a lot of literatures available there. We have trained over 850 data scientists this year, and there is the AI Accelerator Fund that government has given. So you could go and find data. You can learn data science. 50% is funded by the government. Look for some trainers, including us and any other persons, where you could learn about it. You don't write it off. I'm an engineer. I'm an FM. Everybody will be using data one form or the other. Having an understanding of data, how to use it, how to keep it, it's going to take you miles ahead. Again, your experience with AI, it's going to be unique to you. Just because somebody is using AI, just company is using AI, doesn't mean it's going to be applicable for you. There are certain industries where if you use AI, you are not even included, like a regulated industry, defense, nuclear, cybersecurity, etc. That's threat. We don't want you to go back and use Gen AI to maintain a nuclear asset, for example, right? It's something. So think it through. It's just because everybody is using, not for you, and you can make a decision within your company. We are not going to use it. That's still valid. I don't want you to say it's going to be everybody needs to do it, right? Just be, it's just for you. So we already talked about AI as a trusted friend. Keep asking questions. It won't judge you. That's the main thing, right? You can swear at it, whatever you want, but it'll say sorry, and it'll come back. How often do you have that? When it's a one-way conversation, you can swear at somebody, and the other person doesn't swear. Don't try it to their wife, by the way. So AI is accelerating tech. Regardless whether you use AI or not, there will be adoption. Ideally, we should have talked about automation and AI. You are going to appreciate a lot of data, and you are going to use a lot of data within your company, and you might move away from Excel into something little tools. That's a success. Don't just write it off. I'm not using Gen AI, but if you're curious, if you're collecting some data, if you're using something, that's a success. So what have you learned from this? And before I think I still have a minute. So what you learned from this session, and now you have listened to us. Option 1, you're still unsure about AI. I'm so confused now. It could be option 1. Number 2, I listened to this panel and I feel less overwhelmed. I feel calm. I'm fine. And number 3, I'm ready to explore and learn more. And number 4, I'm excited and will get some trials in place for 2025. So put the polls in and we can do it. So again, at this stage, I just want to thank my panel, Mike, Vanessa, Neil, and Jack. Thank you for joining, and thank you, audience, for joining. And also, any follow-up questions or anything, I'm sorry we weren't able to do that, but any follow-up questions, I might pick up one, if that's okay. Any follow-up questions, please reach out to us. You have our LinkedIn details, and you can do it. As Neil pointed out, ask us the questions. So we don't want you to do it in a wrong way, but let's at least tell you how not to do it rather than how to do it. So it's Christmas 4 weeks. Wish you and family all the good health and have a successful festive period. So that's it, done. But I'm going to pick up one question, if that's okay, if okay with the team here. So number 1. This question got more thumbs up, so where do you think AI falls down in maintenance and planning? I think you already answered it, Mike. Any one-liner that you want to comment?
It can get it wrong. It's not necessarily going to be following the actual legislation. It's going to come up with an answer it thinks is right, not one that's guaranteed to be right.
Correct. So it gives you a starting point, but you should know whether that's right or wrong. That's where experience comes in. Good. Neil, this is interesting for you. Asset is not always a standardized term. Does asset mapping define this and filter out components or subsets? I know it's a very technical question. Like, how do we define an asset?
I think that's that's the hardest thing, is defining an asset, because they are so different, or can be so different. So AI can help. I think image caption can help, and asset mapping can help. But it is a journey. I think, again, the advancements coming forward, it's getting better and better and better, and speed is coming. So I'd say at the minute it's probably a high variance of errors if you did it purely, but I think you'll find over the next 12 months you'll get much improvement.
Got it.
But I think it's a start, it's great.
I would ask this question to Chat GPT or Claude or Perplexity or any AI tool that you're using, Bing or anything. How do you define an asset? Ask the same question and let me know what the answer comes through. So, does the panel, this is a broader question, and one more question and I'll stop. Does the panel have any suggestions for some entry-level admin task that could be undertaken with an estates and maintenance team for complete beginner users to start the AI journey? So somebody's totally new entering. Here we go. You have. I'm going to buy you $20 of Chat GPT license. Go and add some value with it. What do you think they can do?
From experience, I've seen people that are brand new to AI, even just doing, I think you were saying about a roster or rota for a team, uploading an Excel spreadsheet it may be on, given some parameters, asking it to write your rota, it can do that. That's really powerful to people that would sit there and manually do it.
Get an Excel spreadsheet of all the work you did or your team did last month and ask it to summarize it. Say who were the most used people. Things that you'd have to comprehend as a human and read lots of things. It can summarize that stuff.
Or take that data and then say, write me a monthly executive report.
There you go. Make me a PowerPoint presentation.
Exactly. So that's it. This is the last. I think this is a technical question. I'm not sure whether we could answer it, but we can try. How are you creating a bridge between lots of data sheets like SFG20 to asset list?
So, I think that's just by comprehending what the asset schedule is, or what the schedule is maintaining, and then converting and translating what an asset description from any old spreadsheet in any old weird format, try and standardize that and try and make a match. And that's basically using AI multiple times to do multiple little tasks to do things, and then having another one bring it all together. It's the perennial problem, but that's what we've been using it for.
Brilliant. That's it from us. Thank you very much for joining us live, and that's it. Thank you. Thank you, panelists. Thank you, audience. We'll see you next time. Thank you. Bye.